As a departure from the street photography that I normally shoot, I've been going out with a 70 to 200mm, and the photos that I found I'm taking are more minimal, more abstract, and I've learned are along the lines of what's called pictorialism. So pictorialism is an approach to photography that emphasizes beauty of subject matter, tonality, and composition rather than the documentation of reality. So while I thought I'd change the game when I got my first rolls back from the 70 to 200mm, it turns out I was beaten to the punch by about 120 years from the likes of Edward Steichen, who shot this picture of the Flatiron Building in New York in 1904, and also from Alvin Langdon Coburn, who shot this photo called Spiderwebs in 1908. Just got me, just beat me. Like everything in the creative realm, nothing's new, everything's derivative, and we should all just give up. That is, unless of course we can add something new and interesting, which for me, as a boring person here in the future, I can only do with the help of modern technology. So you can see at the bottom of Eddie's photo, there's reflections of the trees and then the street lights over the pavement, which looks like it's maybe just rain, so it's either like just really wet or actual puddles reflecting these things. You can then see the same distorted reflection in Alvin's photos as well. Using advancements in technology like this amazing color-rich film stock called Portra 400, which of course they didn't have a color film at the time, and adding to that an enormous telephoto zoom lens, which again they just didn't have access to 120 years ago. I can take what they've both used as an element in their photos, but I can get close enough to fill an entire frame and make an entire composition about these tiny little interesting things. Now I imagine, in my own very self-important way, that it was the reflections that initially grabbed Alvin's attention for this spiderwebs photo. There's something really hypnotizing about straight lines being broken and wiggling around on the reflection of water that it grabs your attention, and I'm sure, you know, 100 years ago it would have grabbed anyone's attention, but if you're a photographer and you've got this brand new technology, you're probably thinking, what's this going to look like if I freeze this moment of this perpetually moving thing? Remember, in pictorialism, we're no longer documenting reality, or at least not how we perceive reality with our naked eye. So to produce these kind of psychedelic images, you need specific conditions for the best results. So if I hadn't shot this photo myself and someone had just shown it to me, I'd think it's pretty easy to replicate. And it is if all the conditions are right. What I look for is something that's brightly colored, is well lit, is then near water, and then if the reflection is on that water, if the water is in partial shade or full shade, then the water will be really dark and almost mirror-like, this sort of black mirror that reflects the light that is getting captured on a building or a structure that's on the other side of the water. And alternatively, if you don't get partial or full shade of the water, having a really sort of dark poo brown Yarra River, that's a real benefit as well. So if you get all these things coming together, so something brightly colored that's got lots of like horizontal or vertical lines or interlacing interlacing lines that on a reflection are going to become even more distorted, and as long as that's near water, there's shade and bright sunlight hitting the subject, then you're golden. So here's an image that I took in full sun. The water wasn't in shadow, but again, I was saved by the shallow, clay-ridden waters of the Yarra River. And here's what it looks like on an overcast day. You can really see how sharp light hitting at a sharp angle, so either sunrise or sunset, which throws other bits into shade of the reflection, really helps make an image and makes the reflection stand out. And so then when it comes to the actual surface of the water itself, if it's too windy, then the water's going to be too choppy. If there's too many boats, birds, or stand-up paddleboarders, then it's going to be so disturbed that you're not going to get distorted lines. They're just going to completely disintegrate, which is another look in and of itself. And you know, it's not the end of the world if it is super choppy. I've taken some pin-sharp photos of really distorted water, which I really like. And I've also taken some out of focus images of really sharp lines, which again, in pictorialism, out of focus photos, that's sort of part of the game. And in both instances, I think they both turned out really interesting. So both have their pros and cons, depends on what you're looking for, but I think I lean more towards the sharp as opposed to soft, but yeah, I think I will take more soft because again, it's not something that I typically shoot, so I like to do things that I don't normally do. So I found that there is a bit of overlap between the two. So the street photography stuff that I normally shoot and this pictorialism, I don't know what I'm calling it, long lens stuff, reflection stuff. It is all photography at the end of the day, but I thought that street photography was the only thing where you're really sort of capturing a decisive moment, things that are broadly observable but are often overlooked by people, and you can't really appreciate until you take a photo and you freeze something in a moment, and then you can see all of the beauty come together in this one image. But there is a lot of overlap with this pictorialism stuff because it is, again, observable. People can see these reflections, but if you can't take a zoom lens and get right in close and you can't freeze that moment of this really fast ripple or the way the sunlight is hitting this thing, they both have their own sort of decisive moments, and they're both really enjoyable when you do actually capture something that you sort of knew what it was going to look like at the time, but then when you get it back and it's even better than what you expected. Yeah, I'm sort of getting a lot of the same enjoyment that I get from street photography in this new sort of pictorialism long lens stuff. And I don't see many people shooting like this, which I think is also really cool. So film photography with long lenses, I think more people should do it, and I'm keen to see where this goes. But that's it.